Oh,
well,
that's probably not.
just in case.
Yeah.
Hey, Jillian.
Anyhow,
How
How are ya?
you
Good.
it's a little better now.
Can't hide.
All right, we are on. Everyone have an agenda?
I do.
Okay, we haven't had a meeting for a while. January 4th. Yikes.
We're gonna do statements of interest too.
Yikes. Okay.
For me.
As in first?
At some point.
Can we do the minutes first? Is that okay?
Sure.
Has everyone?
Oh, no. I don't know if you want to pass them down. They have seen
Oh,
about
no one
the other
has them.
copies.
Oh.
These guys do. They're making their way back.
What is happening?
You don't know.
Okay.
No, that's,
What date?
you just
No,
treated the
the-
same
yeah.
thing.
Oh, we
It's the
did.
same thing. I had just given 2
How
piles
many
so we
people are in
could
this meeting?
get through it.
Thank you. All right, can everyone take a quick peek at the minutes, please? Any questions, comments, edits? It's been a while, I know, but once folks are comfortable with those. Did you hear from Doug?
Marino?
Yeah.
About this meeting?
Yeah.
No.
Because of this?
No.
Did you want me to reach out to him on that?
No, I can handle it. I just didn't yet.
Okay.
Any thoughts or edits for the minutes? First, can I get a motion whenever already?
Make a motion to approve the minutes?
Second.
Thank you, Doug. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Great, thank you, everyone. So we're gonna go through a bit of a transition. This is our first meeting after the last town election. Doug, I know that you have a lot on your plate. Kristen, I know that you have mentioned that you also have a lot on your plate. So I am super grateful that you all have been with this since the beginning, and one way or another.
Now I'm fired.
Sounds like a compliment sandwich.
Yeah.
No, well, Doug wasn't. Remember, he wasn't on, but he was still coming, and he was contributing, and we asked him to come on then. So really appreciative of that and everything that you've done. If you have folks who are interested in joining, please let them know about this.
Just a suggestion after
Please.
our conversation is that my concern is that I'm getting into my busy season. We've had this
Yeah.
discussion and everything. So maybe it would be a good idea to, if we make recommendations for people to come on, if you wanted to stay, we have alternates now.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to have alternates. That would be great.
So, such as, I had reached out to John and talked to him about making a move to step down, and only because I'm right out straight. And I talked to Doug Marino, and he's very excited about coming aboard and helping out. What I didn't think about is, as John's presenting here, is the application, because you'd have to submit it whether or not you go on the board or as an alternate. And I didn't talk to him about being an alternate, but either or, if he decided he'd want to fill my spot and the board was in favor of it, then I would at least consider being an alternate, just in the event. So, because I'm gonna still try and do as many meetings as I can. I want to be active with the breakfast, that type of thing. But I don't John knows I don't like to commit to something and not follow through on it. I'm sorry.
And my thought had been, I'd just like to see more people that are not on the planning board, because we are, you know, we do consider projects and.
Which is an excellent point.
Some other folks.
Yeah, I agree, and understand, those perspectives. I think it really kind of dovetails a little bit with the next item on the agenda, which is the 2024 goals, right? It's easier to identify who the right fits for committee would be if we knew specifics on the directionality of the committee for the next year or two at least. So maybe if y'all don't mind, if we can lump these two agenda items together almost, and I think what we'll do, Jillian, is try to do the standard posting of vacancies for economic development, but also looking for alternates as well. So probably 2 alternates, I would think, and we can confirm this with the select board.
I know he's busy, but we do need another public relations communications type person. Do you think Russ, since it's just a once a month meeting, might be able to?
I think he would be ideal given his professional background.
Yeah.
So we can ask him if he'd be willing to fill out a statement of interest, for sure. But that's a really good point on the PR part.
So what is the practical commitment? 'Cause I think we try to meet monthly. The reality is we probably meet 7 to 8 times a year, 4 to 6 events a year. So, I mean, people are going to want to know. I think on paper we have what we aspire to, but life gets in the way sometimes.
So, look, I think the reality is what I, in my perfect world, and this is going to be up for discussion with the committee, is Bob Rossman has expressed interest in being the vice chair. I would like for Bob to consider moving up to chair, and for us to have another vice chair, and then I would like to a more standard approach to the committee setup would be to have me be a select board rep, and for this committee to be providing guidance to the planning board and select board, because technically we're a planning board
That's how it
subcommittee.
started, yeah. We had a planning board rep.
That's an excellent thought process, I think.
But I think that's and I'm fully open for discussion. That's my perfect scenario, perfect world scenario. Obviously, I obviously travel, and it gets in the way of things, and I don't want it to get in the way. I can contribute in different ways when I'm on the road, but physically being here is for these meetings, I think, is helpful and important. Now that thanks to the communications committee, now that we have these capabilities, I think that we have more opportunities to engage with experts remotely. It'll be more feasible. I'll be able to hear you all. We're not going to be on a cell phone, speaker
Yes,
when
we've done
I'm in Dubai. It'll work a lot better now that we have Teams and the microphones, etc. So I'm really excited about that.
Just following up on Mac's question, because you mentioned that the expectation is monthly meetings. I think really when we started, it was every 2 weeks.
It was every 2 weeks.
Yeah, and I think it makes more sense to be monthly, but I think we need to clarify that as well.
I'd like it. I guess where I'm going with it is what you're saying. I'd like it to be kind of locked in, like planning board. That's every first and third Thursday. It's like, that's just the way it is. You show up every first and third Thursday and you have a meeting. For school board, it's the first Monday of every month, and you're there. So I'd like to be on that schedule. A schedule that we can all rely on. But I think, again, what are the goals and how do we get there? And then, like, do we need 2 meetings a month? Do we need meetings every other month or every month? Like, what are the goals that we have in front of us to accomplish? And I think that will help us to back into what that schedule and those committee members look like. I have some thoughts.
I was gonna ask you, do you have some thoughts on it?
I have some thoughts.
Okay. Surprised.
But I would like to hear other thoughts as well. So I think the town is. Has anyone been to the rec in the last couple weeks? Yeah.
Road?
The road is well underway.
Next?
The decks are done. The logging is done over above the over by the pavilion area. It's got a little bit of a mess, but tons of progress has been done over at the rec. They're going to continue to move forward with feasibility study on putting kind of the municipal complex, the town office, police building there, and kind of come up with what is doable. Now we also have the charrette stuff.
Correct.
That it plays right along with that. Now, economic development, a lot of what we've heard is, remember Chuck Morse when he was here? He was like, you guys gotta decide what you want to be when you grow up, because when they threw that stoplight up, everything changed for him and in his area. Well, this Tuesday we had DOT come and present to us. Steph was there, Doug was there. Were you there? I don't remember.
No,
The roundabout is, it sounds to me like it's actually possible and interesting from DOT's perspective to put the roundabout in eventually.
Keep in mind, that's South Road 125.
For now.
For now, right.
Yeah.
And with not to interrupt, but now they're talking the 10-year plan, discussing the 10-year plan with the idea of getting on board with that June 6th. And, I tried to tie that in the other night at the select board meeting. And I would think that now would be the time to get going with suggestions as to what we might think would be good for the rec center.
And I think I agree.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I was going with it. It's kind of, okay.
Sorry.
No, you're absolutely right.
I just don't
now's
know
the
to
time.
look at now, because last year we talked about it, we really didn't do anything. Steph did an immense amount of work on looking at that, and now I think we feel a little more familiar as to the procedural type aspect of what to do with the 10-year plan. And we've got good communication with Dave Walker, and of which he's coming to speak still.
Yeah, he's available to come to our, not next planning board meeting, but the one after May 16th, to just give an overview of the project solicitation process and how it all ties in with the whole planning process. Because Doug and I can try to regurgitate what we've heard at some of those meetings, but he would do a more comprehensive job, and it would sound better coming from him.
Yeah, and the board has suggested a number of different things, so it would be advantageous for anybody of the board. Us three
Yeah.
would be there anyway. but-
Because basically the town has a deadline if we want to submit new projects for consideration of
And if we miss it
June
this year,
6th. Yeah, it's every 2 years, so it's not like this is our last chance, but The sooner we get things on the list, the sooner they get considered, and another benefit is if we want to apply for more grants, having them on that list
That's
helps with that.
So I'd really like to explore doing that because I think that that is us deciding what we want to be when we grow up. Like that's what that is. If you get one at South Road, you get one at where the municipal complex is. Now you're talking about, Brentwood is no longer the drive-through town. Brentwood is the destination town. That's kind of what we've been aiming for since the beginning. And
John? In terms of the process and the politics and everything else, do you increase or do you decrease, really what I'm asking is, do you decrease the chances of getting a roundabout at the rec center if you put one at South Road? I mean, are they ever gonna do two roundabouts that close together? I don't know, I'm just asking.
I don't know either.
I think they would, in my opinion. New Hampshire DOT's really leaning towards roundabouts more and more. There are a lot of studies showing that they're much safer than traffic signals. There are some cases where operationally they don't work. You have to kind of run the analysis, but when they do work, they're more in favor of them, and they're proposing them all over the state. And
Okay.
there's no reason from like an engineering perspective or safety perspective why they couldn't be that close. Sometimes they have them even closer.
I think the benefit of having it for the town specifically, yes, it will absolutely slow traffic down, right? But it will slow traffic down.
Yeah.
So that is kind of the goal,
Yeah.
and it makes having businesses here in town more attractive because you're not bombing through at 65 miles an hour.
Oh, yeah, I agree, and I think, and I've said this before, if there's a roundabout at South Road, that's the entrance, the gateway to
gateway.
Brentwood.
Yep.
And just like people talk about the Lee Circle, that'll be the Brentwood Circle, and people will, all of a sudden, Brentwood will be on the map.
Oh yeah. Yep. Exactly.
But I think for these projects, I want to make sure is what angle are we uniquely covering in our purview that isn't covered by other committees and groups? It's like, if ever, a lot of people are thinking about and building towards it and progress is made, but what, and we have overlap with a lot of those committees, so we do have some redundancies and ideas, but like, what are we uniquely bringing? And as this committee morphs into maybe new bodies, the unique purview of like, why does this committee care about that? And what part of that do we own?
I'm glad you're asking that question because I think that plays to exactly what this committee is all about, hopefully, where we would take the angle of going through the data that's available nationally regarding traffic circles, towns with, that match, generally speaking, our demographics, and how basically one more argument about why this makes sense for Brentwood, but from an economic development perspective. What could this bring to Brentwood? Not just the traffic circles, right? Like I think that's actually kind of the minimal element of what I'm talking about. I'm more talking about, for me, the municipal campus,
Well,
rec campus.
making a spot you slow down.
Yeah.
So our purview is if somebody else is helping make it a spot we slow down for, we focus on what do you do between those two gates.
Yeah.
That's what I want to make sure is we're not just rehashing things that other committees and meetings and teams and stuff are already doing, whether we do it or not. So like, how do we count? What do we add? That's
And nobody except for us for the time being is even discussing the rationale and purpose to have a second traffic circle at the rec campus. And for any of us who have tried to get in or get out of there, it is treacherous to say the least.
Oh, yeah, it's a nightmare.
So like, what's that? Close your eyes and go. Yeah, I mean, no, it's interesting because tonight, the rain ended up canceling it, but Katie had to work. I was at the school board solar panel meeting, and I'm surprised you're here.
Oh, my wife was there.
I know, that's why I'm surprised you're here. And my middle son, William, had soccer practice at the rec, and we have a new childcare. We're in childcare transition, and I literally said to her, like, look, I'm not comfortable with the new person going to the rec yet, like, haven't done it yet. So we literally made the decision to skip soccer practice because, like, we couldn't line it up. And
there's even, I'm just thinking too, for business owners, I think there's a business on 125 that's name is associated now with the severe traffic. It's like that area, and they use the name of the business in articles as being a dangerous place. So you want customers to be able to come and stop and feel safe and turn in, and now you're associated with that. So I think it's good for everybody.
so, anyway, yes, absolutely. I think that we're kind of working toward what we would be working on as a committee, and working toward as a committee, like the benefits of
What about workforce housing as something that businesses need? Is that an interest of this worker?
I would say that that's would be a valuable discussion to have with folks.
Complicated.
He's being very cautious.
Are you running for office?
I want more workforce housing. That's I mean, I'm 110% supportive of that, but when it comes to the NIMBY issues that we face when we go down that road, it's tough. I think that's just the reality. But
Planning board's partial, right at the moment. We're listening to all.
yeah.
We have a lot of data.
In terms of other things that we might be looking at, I'd like to go back to one of the original things that we, and I think it's still in our mission statement, residential property taxes, and what can we do by promoting economic development that will help lower residential property taxes. And we've talked about it a little bit, but I'd like to know more about the tax structure in town, and if there are any options to the current way of taxing. And is the property tax, commercial as well as residential, is it a barrier to development in some way? Are there things that could be done? And like I say, I don't know, we may be locked into one form of taxation. But I would like to have somebody come in here, one of our meetings, and talk about tax, and talk about structures and how, and I've given this example before, but as I understand it, the way things currently work is if you have two used car dealerships on 125, and I think there are at least two. And they're side by side, they both have the same acreage. One has a shack, a mobile shack, where they do all their business, and the other puts up a big building, beautiful building. The one that puts up the building is gonna pay more property tax, because they're not taxed on the value of the land per se, or what they generate from income. They're taxed on the building. And so there's a disincentive to make it look nice. So anyway, those are just, I'd like to know if there are alternatives or ways to go about it.
Each
And
of
I think
those-
part of our charge.
Each of those require a very different skill set. I mean, the skill set of the committee was largely around the survey, getting launched, getting a mission statement. We had people, and all the fast and furious effort was around that, talking about it, presenting it. Patrick, all of us was very much on the survey. it's like if we pick any one of those three, you'll want different specialists and different perspectives. It's almost like you pick a main goal of the year and a substitute goal, a backup goal of the year, and you ideally attract people to drive that home for that year. And then if we switch to workforce housing, that's a totally different, maybe different set of experts that you would want, maybe as advisors or maybe as committee members.
So you're saying focus in on one?
Well, I don't know, can we, could we do justice to all three of those with the same body of experts?
Well, I
Maybe
think,
again.
I don't know that we, for example, need a tax expert on our committee to accomplish what I'd like to accomplish, which is bringing in a tax expert and asking questions and just learning how it works now and whether there are alternatives.
Yeah.
So
But-
one thing I've thought about that I think this committee could do that relates to that is making recommendations for what's allowed in that zone on 125. And so there's some controversy right now about certain activities that aren't maybe as conducive to mixed use. And there are activities that would bring more taxes, you know? So if you have certain kinds of businesses, they have to have a building, they have to have a big building, nice building, whatever. That's gonna bring more taxes than other kinds of businesses. I've looked at that list, it's, you know, I don't know how old that list is, or, you know, when was the last time the planning board looked at it? But that's something we could do, is think about what businesses do we want on there, and we could even have incentives for certain, I don't know. But
To
to
make a
help,
recommendation, yeah.
yeah, to help make a
Formulate
recommendation for
opinion.
what businesses do we actually want to fill in along 125?
And keep.
Well, the keep is, yeah.
Well, I mean, things are grandfathered in, so, but, yeah. Keep on the list, I guess.
So we have taxation structure, incentives, etc. We have workforce housing. We have, I think it's can define it however we want. But in my head, it's kind of like Brentwood as a destination.
Yeah, the Brentwood corridor, whatever we want to call it.
Brentwood
right?
corridor.
I mean, it's a 10-year plan of what do we want it to look like in 10 years and start thinking now.
Yeah, I like the Brentwood corridor. That's a good way to.
Yeah, well, you know, and my frustration is that we have a golden opportunity right down the street from us. Rob's got his parcel of land that's been approved.
Yep.
And, you know, with that much closer with anything else that we're discussing, but it's almost like if we had something like that, a small little bakery, you know, whether it be a post office or not, I forgot the combination we had going in there. I would love to get him enthused again about doing something.
Well, we did. There was a very brief, casual interaction with him. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Where we talked about, hey, if we did this kind of, you know, some of the work around what was proposed in the Charette municipal complex type of deal, you know, would that be interesting to you? And he indicated that he was extremely interested in.
Yeah, I mean, he wants to do something.
And he's a go-getter. I mean, he's a guy.
Yeah. So, okay, so those are three.
For any of those, I think we need a communications person. So
I totally agree.
I think we need to fill that.
I totally agree, and I think meeting monthly is workable. I think we should be on a set schedule for that. And do we? Okay.
So
But the-
do we, go ahead.
I think monthly. Oh wow, that's picking me up now. Monthly, 4 or 5 events a year. So when you're describing the burden, somebody, you're probably in a room with each other 16 times a year. Just to give, I think, as you're thinking about the other things on your plate and what it means to be an alternate, maybe means you're committing to 8. And if you're committing to an advisor, you're maybe committing to 6. So just to kind of.
I think that's right.
Size and shape of it, yeah. I think it helps for people.
By the way, I think we're maybe skipping over it, or maybe it's part of it, but I think we should, as a goal of our committee, we should specifically talk about our business breakfast. And I think maybe communication with the business community, or however you want to phrase it, is general. I think that's got to be, I would put Brentwood Corridor number 1. And I think I would put contact with the business community number 2.
Yeah.
And then if we want to add taxes or workforce housing or whatever, we can do that. But I think those first 2 are, we've been doing that, we've been successful at it, and I think we should keep going.
One of the things that was striking me as we were talking about the taxation piece, in terms of incentives, disincentives, or things holding development back. Remember we've talked about the cash bond issue over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Where does that stand, and remind me if you happen to remember?
I remember having conversations with it about Glenn and just
I was gonna say, Glenn
continuing to
reviewed
land
that.
back on, it doesn't seem to be the barrier that it's perceived to be.
But
practice.
yet we keep hearing it
I know.
from
Do you remember
developers.
What specifically he said?
I think it boiled down to, if you wax up on what you do currently, then the town is gonna be liable for anything that materializes.
But it's the way the bond is done.
Exactly, and the
But there's
cash-
no difference really between cash being held in escrow and a bank. That's what I've heard with as the counter
but
argument.
I think Glenn,
Well, we can ask him again
yeah,
today.
why don't we do that? Because I think he was very specific between the 2 as to, because it seemed like a way to open the door.
And he,
Yeah.
from the conversation that I remember, he didn't seem to think it was any different than a lot of other, he works with.
That's my recollection
That's
as
what I
well.
don't understand.
However, it has kept coming up,
Yeah,
and it continues to be like I've been pulled aside again in unofficial and like casual circumstances where it's like, yeah, but you guys have that cash bond over there.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I don't.
You don't know who didn't ask because they were already deterred.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, we'll ask him again and I'll
How-
write it down.
How about
Share it.
setting 3 goals? Brentwood Corridor, and in whatever order you want to talk about. Communications with, and providing a forum for the business community, and investigating
Hurdles
both
to development.
incentives and hindrances to business development. And that can include taxes, that can include workforce housing, that could include bonds.
I like
can
that,
include
Bob.
A lot of things.
Yeah.
Did you get all 3 of those?
Yes, I did.
Amazing.
I would put the thing that I was talking about in Brentwood Corridor and at least as a member of the planning board, I wouldn't mind some recommendations about what should be on that list. What would we like to see on 125?
So our purview is, I'm in total agreement, by the way, but it's to actually make recommendations.
Yeah, they're
To
not binding.
formulate, yeah.
Not
I'm
binding or
good with that, like make
anything,
To
statements.
the planning board and select board.
Yeah, and then, if depending on where it goes and how much interest there is, it could become a warrant article to change.
Cash bond?
I don't know who the chair is.
Oh, what's up, lady?
Mixed use would fall into a lot of that. I know that there was that development up by Tractor Supply that would have been great because it had housing and some more commercial property, but it was not.
Yeah, we can work on that in the project that we have right now. Yeah, so we can try
Jillian?
to address that.
I get a lot of questions about mixed use from developers.
Yeah,
You do.
Mm-hmm.
Can you, like what?
like somebody was in the office the other day and they said, hey, we're interested in tearing down this building and building housing for our workers.
And we said,
I'll look into it,
Come talk.
but
And come
it's,
talk to the planning board immediately.
yeah,
is it allowed?
I don't believe so.
The problem is the way everything's calculated. It's like once you put the business there, now you've used all your acreage and you can't put. So what they were trying to do with that project was do the calculation separately. Like we have 5 acres, we're gonna do a calculation for the number of housing units, and we're gonna do a calculation for the commercial part of it. And we said that the ordinance doesn't allow that. You can have one thing or a smaller bit of those 2 things, but you can't.
Is
sort
it the
of
housing that requires multiple acres or something like that? Well, what's the,
Well, the size of the building too, just for the commercial use, requires so much acreage given, you know, there's a lot of wetlands out there too, so.
Yeah, it's just the buildable land too, it doesn't
Yeah.
include.
oh, okay, so it's
That's
not,
what, yeah.
Right,
we're not holding back development, like there's wetland.
But we could possibly change it in a way that would allow for more to be put on a buildable lot, maybe if you're doing both or something.
While still being
protected.
protective of the
Yeah.
environment, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be really interesting to explore.
Yeah, we have a draft, report on our zoning, and we'll be looking at that.
Can you share that down with us too? Is that possible? Okay.
It's not, it's just from RPC, we haven't given them any feedback yet, so.
Yeah.
And there's a couple things in there that I would, maybe next round,
Okay.
but we don't have a lot of time.
All right, and then business, anything further on the, I love the direction that we're going in. It feels substantive and I feel like there's actual direction, which,
Yeah, we had a nice little sabbatical. Good to come back.
I mean, we did.
The weather and life made it happen, so we'll make the most of it.
Agreed.
But it sounds like we need, so if you wanna stay on, we gotta do the forum. Sounds like we'll have some new members, and if you're leaving, we're telling you gotta find your sub.
Please go find someone,
Yeah.
to,
They have to have the same name like Doug and
is that a requirement?
I think I'm hosed then. I've never met another McCann.
So, on the website, we're very specific about who we're looking for, communications person.
I think we are looking for a communications person, like, that's a
Almost.
must,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a gap right now.
So I'm sorry, so we should be all filling out these?
We do all need to fill these out.
Okay.
If you're okay with that, I would really appreciate you all staying on. Doug and Kristen, appreciate everything you've done so far. Doug, if you're willing to do the alternate.
Well, I have no reason not to.
Amazing. Or if you miss the alternate box and just put voting member, that would be fine.
It seems like it seems like there's not that many Sentinel events. Sentinel events are if we make a recommendation, we all have, it seems like we would all want to vote on or approve that or edit it. That seems like maybe only members do, but other than that, I mean, we don't have any decision making, we don't have budget, we don't have like,
We're advising.
yeah, remember an alternate, I don't know that, I think it's kind of like, I don't know, I feel like your
No,
voice
but
is
it
just,
is-
your voice is just as equal.
It is. I think the alternates really help us when we have, while we did only have minutes from January 4th, we have a couple of times had a quorum issue,
Yeah, it's true.
and so the alternates
with it.
help with the quorum, the potential quorum issue, and it's just life, as you said, life gets in the way, but.
And we do have a very good precedent of alternates have equal say on stuff. I like that. I feel pretty strong about that. If somebody can't be here 12 meetings a year, we still want them.
Of course.
They're still heard, yeah.
Are you stepping away? Is that-
I will stay until you have more people.
okay.
Thank you.
Because of the background of everybody, that's equally as important. You hate to lose that.
Yes, well, getting another PhD
I'm the exception.
would be tough.
You have one, you only need one. You need two.
Can never have enough.
Never have enough.
That should be a requirement.
Yeah.
I have an idea, are we, is that all right?
Yes.
Related to workforce housing and the, campus, safety campus, what if this became, what if this was converted? I know the plan is to sell this for money to apply to another, if that's the path the town goes down. But this
Well, that's a thought.
for town workers? Just thought.
It's worthy of discussion. I don't know where that discussion would happen, maybe at the town complex
It's part of it.
meetings, yeah,
Yeah.
But I think it's worthy of discussion and consideration. So I've kind of already given a little bit of, I think we have goals, we'll nail that down at our next meeting. We've discussed the committee member pieces, we have, I've given a little bit of a community, like the town complex overview. Are there any outstanding questions about that currently? No. Okay. The rec commission is going to actually have a vision session for the rec campus. And I want to say it is. Is it? I don't have. Is it on the website already? Because you put it there, Letty. It is available on brentwoodnh.gov. I want to say it's May 9th, but. It is May 9th at 6:30 in this room. We're wrapping up, Ryan. And any and all economic development, I mean, everyone's welcome. Economic development committee members, you know, if you can make it to that, amazing. That would be really great. I think it'll be a really good meeting with rec. And then, okay. That is everything that I have. Any questions about any of that? Doug?
Just what I had texted you, and it was on somebody's budget, the rec budget, concentration or thought process on the bathroom. Just keeping that forward, especially with the complex idea.
Yeah.
Because it's there on the budget, it's already been mentioned, I think it would be a huge asset. You know, the road goes in, if you did the next step being, you know, I don't know if that complex is gonna materialize that quick, but if not, if you add bathrooms, it just enhances the whole area.
It does. There's been some brief discussion of, if y'all just remember the charrette and the building, the community center that was there had the bathrooms, and when we've
Solves that problem too.
yeah, the idea being that the bathrooms on the CIP I think are $80,000 roughly in my head, and we've priced out actually doing a skeleton of an actual building. Granted, it's a skeleton, and this is not locked in, but we could potentially do something that could house a basketball court for the town, we don't even have an actual basketball court in town, could house a theater, could have voting, and we could likely do this for between $300,000 and $400,000, we think. Again, this is not, there's nothing behind this except for kind of rough estimates, but the idea of having that kind of a resource for the entire town for $300,000 to $400,000 versus $80,000 bathrooms, kind of, you know, so it's kind of a no-brainer.
Yep.
Okay, so next meeting, that's the only thing we need to.
I actually have one,
Sorry.
just a quick comment.
Yes, please.
On the minutes from the last meeting, right at the end, we talked about the Seacoast Economic Development Stakeholders Meetings.
Yes.
And I volunteered to
Okay.
attend. I've never gotten any notice of anything, so I don't know if I'm.
No, that's my fault. That's not your fault.
I don't remember what I had, but I know something came up on the 26th of March for me, so.
Okay.
And the paragraph after that, in the minutes, is about the bill about speed limits, and there is a committee hearing on that bill next week in the. I can
That's a dollar.
find the number.
Next week?
Yeah, it's on Tuesday. We can get a little.
What is today? Today's
Would
Thursday
be
at 6.
Yeah, so May 16th
doing
at
it.
6, if we went with the schedule we had agreed on.
Does that do the same thing, bumping us into planning board?
But I can set us up in the other room, we just won't be able to live stream.
But if we're really meeting monthly, we'll be quicker. There's a little bit of backlog today.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think if we were meeting monthly, we should be able to do it in an hour.
as long as we're consistent.
Okay.
Yeah,
Let's
try
let's
it.
do that.
May 16th,
At
6
6
p.m.
o'clock.
So third Thursday?
Third Thursday of the month at 6 o'clock.
Cool.
And it'll really force us to have efficient meetings, which I love.
I like that.
All right. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
I.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Good luck, though.
Bob, I'll get you the Seacoast Economic Development meeting stuff.
You want me to fill one of those up?
Does anyone need the statement of interest?
Yeah, just get me on the notice list or whatever it is, so I know
I will.
when and where. And I'll try to go.
Hey, Doug. Outstanding, sir. How are you?
Amazing, thank you.
Hey, so
You got another form for him?